Most people assume the Bible begins in January, but according to the Bible, it doesn't. Scripture places the beginning of the year somewhere very different. It begins in the spring. And if you're someone who has started noticing that some things in modern faith don't quite line up with Scripture, that discovery might raise a quiet question. Why would God begin the year in spring instead of the middle of winter? The answer appears right before one of the most important moments in Israel's history. In Exodus chapter 12, just before the people of Israel were delivered from slavery, God spoke to Moses and said, "This month shall be the beginning of months for you. It shall be the first month of the year for you." At first glance, that might seem like a small detail, but think about what was happening when those words were spoken. The people had not left Egypt yet. They were still slaves. Deliverance hadn't happened, and yet God reset their calendar before the rescue even took place. So here's the deeper question. Why would God reset time before his people were free? Well, because leaving Egypt was never meant to be just one dramatic moment. It was the beginning of a journey. First, there would be preparation, then Passover, then the removal of leaven. Step by step, God would lead his people out of slavery and into a completely different way of living. The calendar wasn't simply measuring days. It was marking the path out of Egypt. And that pattern still speaks today. Because sooner or later, many people reach a quiet moment where something in their lives, their faith lives, doesn't seem to fit anymore. Maybe traditions you inherited don't fully match what you're seeing in Scripture. Maybe you feel like you've been going through the motions, but something deeper is calling you forward. If that's where you are, you're not alone. When God begins leading someone out of Egypt, the journey often starts with a reset, a moment when the old rhythm stops making sense, and God begins leading you into a new one. Over the next few weeks, we're going to walk through that journey together. We'll talk about preparation, we'll talk about Passover, and we'll talk about what it means to leave behind the things that kept God's people tied to Egypt. But before we move forward, take a moment to sit with a simple question. If God were resetting the rhythm in your life right now, what might he be inviting you to begin? That question is often where the journey out of Egypt starts. And if you've ever reached the point where something in your faith begins to feel misaligned, the deeper question eventually becomes, who or what is actually shaping what you believe? That's the question I explore in No Place to Hide, the issue of authority and why it matters more than most people realize. If you want to think more deeply about that question, you'll find the link below.